Okay, I know you've been thinking it. Should you go to Universal during the pandemic? On this channel, we talk about Halloween, Harry Potter, and theme parks. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
2020 has been a little wild, a little bit. So in today's video, we thought we'd discuss our recent trip to Universal and whether or not we think it's a good idea for you to go during the pandemic. We're going to break down some of the pros and cons, and also just sort of some of the things that we experienced during our last trip. And at the end of the video, we're going to give you our opinion on whether or not we think it's a good idea for you to travel at this time.
Real quick, we just wanted to give a disclaimer and say that we are not talking about whether it's like medically safe to go.
Yeah.
We're just talking about if it's worth it for the money that you spend and if it's enjoyable to visit the parks right now. Okay, let's start with the pros.
So obviously, right off the bat, one of the biggest pros of going right now is during the week, the crowd levels are non-existent. Like there is nobody in the parks. It changes a little bit on the weekends, but it's still manageable. Like it wasn't bad at all.
I agree. I also think the weekend that we were there was a bad one to judge it by.
True.
Because it was the first weekend that they opened up the two Halloween Horror Nights houses.
Yeah, so I think they reached capacity by, I'd say it's like 10 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
So it was a busier weekend, but even then, I mean, it was bad relative to the first 2 or 3 days we were there.
Yeah.
But compared to when we've been there in,
Normal
spring
times,
breaks or during the summer, there wasn't anybody there still. So coupled with that, another pro would be the wait times are non-existent as well. I think Hagrid's was pretty much the only thing that we truly had to wait for.
Yeah.
And even then, I think the highest we saw was like 50 minutes during the week.
Yeah, it was really good. And one of the great things about Hagrid's was that, I mean, the line basically just kept moving.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't really stop very much.
No, not at all.
So, like, it seemed like the line went on forever, like, into the Lost Continent. But when you got in, you just kind of, like, slowly walked the whole way.
Yeah.
Another really great positive to going to the parks right now is that the hotel rates are substantially lower than normal.
Save that money. But seriously, I think our entire stay, so we stayed 3 nights, is that right, this last time?
Yeah.
It was about the price of what a single night normally cost us at the parks. I believe that we paid something like $74 a night.
That's what's in my head as well.
For Cabana Bay. And I know that in the past when we've looked at it a few times, it's been, $220, $230 a night. And so, yeah, it's a big incentive. Like, it's a huge incentive for us to go. Like, we like money. We love money.
Similar to the parks, there were very few people at Cabana Bay. Like if you wanted to get a chair by the pool or, be in the pool and not be crowded by people, that was very easy to do.
Yeah, it was almost unnerving, for lack of a better word.
It was like a ghost town.
We walked out to the pool the night that we got there, which was a Wednesday night. And we walked out there just to see. I mean, we had never stayed at the hotel, and it's a beautiful hotel. We just sort of wanted to check out the property, and there was like one other person in the entire pool. They had that huge pool to themselves,
Yeah.
which was just, like I said, it was just odd. Yeah. Obviously, City Walk and the park sort of go hand in hand. I understand that people can get into City Walk without going to the parks, but crowded parks generally means crowded City Walk. So with the crowds not being at the parks, City Walk was, I don't know if we waited anywhere. Maybe one night, and that was on the weekend. We waited for a table, but I think it was because we requested an outside table, and the wait was 10 minutes. Every other time, even when we requested being outside, no wait. Took us right to our tables. There is just What did we wait for Voodoo Donuts? That's another thing.
Oh, I think there was like one
Yeah.
one couple in front of me.
Normally, Voodoo Donuts is out the door without social distancing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, normally, I mean, we've waited in line for 45 minutes for donuts before, and we would do it again. We're not complaining. Another perk that we sort of noticed was it seems like they're offering some sales in the park. Some of the Halloween Horror Nights merchandise was, if you bought X amount of merchandise, you got like a free lanyard. We saw a lot of the treats were, buy one, get one, some of the fudge and things like that. So it just seems like they're trying to, I don't know if it's like a backlog of inventory from when they were shut down all that time.
Right.
Or if it's just, trying to get
People to
through the
spend money.
doors. Yeah, people through the doors. People through the doors. It's a numbers game. I don't know, but we noticed a lot of good sales going on in the park where we felt obligated to, get a few pieces of fudge. I mean, you just can't pass up a good deal.
We also noticed that people in the park seem to respect your personal space a little bit more than normal, which was nice.
Yeah, I don't know about you all, but if there's one positive that's come out of 2020 and this pandemic, it is people just not getting up in your shit. Like people sort of give you some space. You don't have to worry about it. And one of my favorite things, and I know that this probably even sounds hateful in a way, but when people do walk up too close to you, like you're waiting in a line and people just sort of get too close, it's like it's like sign language at this point. If you just turn and look, you don't even have to say anything. They back up to that other marker. And it's fantastic. If I want to keep one thing from the pandemic, it is stay away from me. Like, just
Respect my bubble.
especially when it's 97 and it's hot. I don't need you breathing fire down my neck. Like, I'm already burning up. Just stay away. This is awesome. I love having space. And something that's sort of a byproduct of all this that I really enjoy is everything in the parks, including the bathrooms, they're immaculate at all times.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can't like turn around without seeing a worker sanitizing something that you're like.
Thank you. Like, seriously, thank you.
But I mean, they're literally sanitizing things that you're like, what, does anybody touch that?
Yeah.
And so, like, they're cleaning the things that actually get touched constantly. And I don't know, it just makes the park seem cleaner, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I didn't see any trash. The bathrooms, like I said, were spotless at all times.
Yep.
It's just, that's another, I guess, good thing that's come out of it. But it really made us at least feel safe. Like we weren't afraid. Like, we tried not to touch anything, but if we touched anything, it wasn't like hand
sanitizer.
dumping Germ-X down our throats. It was more of oops,
Yeah.
like it wasn't a panic attack every time we touched something. So yeah, that's also really nice. I'm
Thankful.
I'm down with my space and clean bathrooms. Yeah, I'm good with it. And now, some of the cons. They're not so good.
So, a little bit contrary to what we talked about earlier, on the weekends, at least from what we experienced, the parks were substantially busier.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that there's too many people in the parks. I just think that they are taking so many precautions to try to keep people safe. Like, you get Germ-X or hand sanitizer before every ride. They space you out. It's only like one party per row. That the lines start getting backed up, even when there's not. I mean, it doesn't have to be overly crowded.
Right. With the social distancing, the crowds look longer than they actually are, and they take up more space in the queue, which means that some of the crowd kind of bleeds out into the common areas of the park, which makes those areas kind of seem more crowded because you have to walk around the lines. And so that's, not great.
One of the biggest, I would say, drawbacks of going right now, one of the biggest cons, for me definitely, is some of the magic is gone. And what I mean by that is they're not running pre-shows. If you've been on, the best example we really thought of is like Escape from Gringotts. The elevator sequence isn't there. The whole pre-show, they're not doing any of that. You just sort of walk through.
Right.
And for us, like that sort of sets the mood for that ride. And there's plenty of other rides where the pre-show really adds a lot to it. Like I understand that those things are just crowd control. That's all they're trying to do with them. But they add to the experience. And it sort of goes hand in hand with it. I mean, I think it's part of the, magic of it. But like the 3D rides aren't the same because with the mask, you put on the glasses and it's just instant fog. And I mean, I'm not going to take my mask off.
Right.
And I don't think anybody should. But it just really messes up. Like we love Spider-Man, we love Transformers, and we didn't even ride Transformers because of the goggles. We still rode Gringotts a few times, but there's more to it than just. I mean, it's sort of a roller coaster on top of
Right.
the thing. The only thing that we found that you could sort of do was like hold the glasses out here.
Yeah, you had to kind of hold them in front of your face where your breath didn't fog them up.
Yeah, but still, it just didn't. It wasn't the same experience. Like I said, some of the magic was just sort of.
Another thing about like the Spider-Man type rides,
Yeah.
anything where it typically shoots like water at you
Yeah.
or heat, anything that like pushes something in your face,
Yeah.
they didn't have that.
Yeah.
Which I understand, but it still takes away from the magic.
It does take away from the ride.
Literally, one of my favorite parts about that ride is when the flaming pumpkin gets
Yeah.
thrown at you.
And the flame's not there.
Yeah.
Like so they've just taken away little stuff like that, which I'm sure is under some sort of guidance. And we're not complaining about it.
Right.
It's just I think it's a drawback. Like it takes away from the experience that you normally get being at the Universal parks. Another drawback is some of the places that are closed. And I'm not just talking about the rides. We all saw the ride closures, 2 or 3 months ago at this point. Can't believe it's been that long. But restaurants, a lot of the restaurants aren't open or are only open on the weekends while you're down there. So if you're going during the week, they're not there.
Or like the little food stands.
Yeah.
One day, it was early in the morning and I was trying to find a stand to activate our refillable cup, and I had to walk forever.
Oh yeah,
to
that was like Thursday or something.
Yeah, it was so hot, and I just desperately wanted water, and it took me probably 30 minutes to find a stand that could activate my cup.
Yeah. Another con is, unfortunately, people suck. Universal is doing everything that they can do to enforce good social distancing, mask mandates, like trying to make sure everyone's wearing their mask properly. The problem is that some people just refuse to do it.
Yeah.
It existed before the mask mandate. People just don't follow rules.
But it's more obvious now.
Yeah, it's just like you can see them not following the rules like right in front of your face. So
Right.
it's just more obvious, and it just sort of ruins your outlook on people in general.
Another downside we kind of noticed during our trip was that a lot of the crowd control and social distancing protocols are trying to keep people outside because that's safer right now. But in Florida, it's excessively hot and sunny outside,
Yeah.
and it can be hard to like get out of the sun and cool down.
Yeah, we think it's a good thing. We're not complaining that they're doing it.
No.
We're just making an observation that you are outside in queues far more often at this point in time than you have been in the past. It's a drawback just because she burns. So we used, roughly 30 to 40 gallons of sunscreen while we were down there.
Just bathe in it.
We filled up our tub at Cabana Bay. Sorry, Cabana Bay. And we just dove in it every morning. Once again, it's something that we absolutely think is necessary, but it's just an observation. Wearing a mask when it's 100 and something degrees, we're not locals, so we aren't used to it. It was difficult.
Yeah.
Not in a breathing, like, I hear people complain about breathing. I didn't ever feel like I couldn't breathe.
No.
I felt more like, wow, I weigh 25 pounds more because everything that I have on, including this mask,
Is soaking
is
wet.
soaked. It feels like I just got off of Bluto's ride, or like it feels like I just got out of the front row of the Jurassic Park ride. Like,
Yeah, I think with that, it's really like extra important to make sure that you drink water and stay hydrated right now. I think the first full day that we were there, we both got a little overheated and had to like take a break and like down some water because we just weren't prepared for how much you sweat when you have those masks on.
yeah, especially when you spend a full day in the park.
Yeah.
Listen, we aren't marathon athletes. We aren't Ironmen. We don't, we don't go jogging for fun. I mean, we jog for health, but
Not for fun.
no, I am very much the only time you should run is when something's chasing you or when you have had too much to eat. But we do walk quite often. I mean, and we jog quite often. I wouldn't like. I feel like we were in really like we're in good enough shape that I didn't think it was going to be an issue,
Yeah.
and it was an issue. Like it is very hot, so please take breaks when you need to. This list isn't exhaustive. I'm sure we missed stuff. We miss stuff all the time. We try, we fail, whatever. But I'm sure there's some pros that you could think of and some cons that you could think of that we didn't have in this list. But let's get to the big question. Is it worth going right now? That answer, unfortunately, depends. Before you think that we're copping out, I think it's very important to understand why we believe this.
Yeah.
If this is something that you do multiple times a year, or even if you take an annual trip to Universal, I think it's fine from the standpoint of enjoyment, cost, all those things. I think it's fine. You do miss out on some of the experience, but you've seen it before, and hopefully it's going to be there in the future. And we've discussed this quite a bit. I think if it's something that you can do, we support going because I know we're just two people, and us going might not make a big difference. But we talked about maybe just with us going, they got to keep one more team member and didn't have to lay. There's been a lot of layoffs, and our hearts go out to all the team members that have been affected. But going and being able to, they're trying to get people through the doors, and the more people that can support them and spend money in the parks or any way, they're going to be able to keep more employees. So in a way, I'm not saying we feel responsible, but we think if you can and you feel safe going, I don't think it's a bad thing. And like we discussed earlier, you do save money right now. You can get more in the parks for less money. They're offering like perks on annual passes. They're offering all kinds of like discounted tickets. You can get a lot more for your money. So if this is something that you do every year or multiple times a year, or if you're a local, I say go for it. That's my opinion. I think it's worth it right now.
On the other hand, if you have never been to Universal before, or you haven't been in a substantial amount of time, or if this is a trip that you have kind of been planning for a long time and looking forward to.
Been saving money. Yeah.
Right, exactly. We don't recommend going right now.
Even though it's cheaper and you've been saving money for the trip, if you've never been, or like you said, if it's not something that you get to do very often, and if you go right now, you're not going to get to go for another 3 or 4 years. There's an incredible roller coaster coming up in 2021 with the Velocicoaster. I would wait until at least then. Actually, it's going to be really crowded right then. I might just wait till a little bit after that. But also, some of the things we mentioned in the cons, the magic's just not there. There's not... The thing that we didn't see that I think we missed a lot of, we've said it here before, we don't have children, but we didn't see hardly any kids doing like wand magic in Hogsmeade or Diagon Alley. I didn't really see anyone doing those things. I mean, you saw it here and there, but normally, like, I love seeing not just the kids, but just the people's faces light up when they're doing all those things. And the rides, the queues, you're going to miss all of that. The castle in Forbidden Journey is one of the most incredible things
It is Hogwarts.
like that I've ever experienced. And right now you get to see like 2 rooms in there,
Yeah.
and then you're on the ride. Like you
Yeah.
don't get to see any of it. So if this is something that you don't get to do very often, or that you've never done, I would put it off. Like
I agree.
I would hold on to my money, and I would wait for a better time. I would wait until things were back to normal, or as normal as they can be after everything sort of
I agree.
goes away. I just can't see myself spending the money, because it's not like it's just dirt cheap to go right now, even though it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
It's still an expensive trip. I just feel like I would want to get the full
Everything.
experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine the first time that I ever went. I can't imagine going and half the parks not being operating, and I also can't imagine not seeing all the friendly team members
Yeah.
that I hope sometime in the near future are going to get to return to work or get rehired, because they truly are what make it an amazing place. So that's our answer. Like I said, you can call it a cop-out answer. I think that's, in our opinion, that it's how we see it.
Right. We think it's the best advice that we can give you right now.
And with that, I guess we're going to conclude today's video. Let us know down below if you've been, if you're wanting to go, or if you think it's a bad idea. Just let us know your thoughts.
All right, guys, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. You can hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell notification so you get an alert every time we post a new video.
Thanks for watching.
All right,
Just
you're
bear with
just
me.
gonna keep rolling.
Probably.
Okay.
Should you? No, I can't do it. I was going to try. I was going to try to